Right now, we are recording. Whereas humans have been recording since there were humans. Whereas nature has been recording since there was nature. Whereas in time, we are at the dawn of playback. Therefore, as we continue to advance our abilities to play back more and more formats at higher and higher fidelities, we will ultimately be able to play back everything humans and nature have recorded since the universe began. All right, pause that idea really quick. I'm so excited to be here talking to you today as an archaeomediaologist on the TEDx theme of reflections, because reflections are artifacts of playback and recording. And 20 years ago, I had a reflection that set me on a path. Back in 1995, I was living in Honduras, working as an archaeologist near Copan, and digging on a site dating from the late Mayan post-classic period, around 1150 Common Era. I was studying archaeology, and I would spend my days documenting the stratigraphic context of beautiful polychrome pottery shards, which I was excavating. My life changed when I discovered the burial of another human being. And I spent 5 weeks with dental picks and brushes, slowly peeling away the dirt from this ancient person. Exhuming the dead, you can't help but really reflect on life's big questions. And I desperately wanted to relate to this person who I was disturbing. And in my mind wandered between who I may have been in their time and they in mine. You see, archaeologists are only lucky enough to excavate 1% of a site. So what we largely know is incomplete. Imagine if we were able to watch a high-fidelity recording of the Mayans from that time period, to play it back and to see it and to hear it. Voltaire said, "History is a bag of tricks we play upon the dead." Well, that bag might as well have been full of artifacts. And as I dug away every day, I couldn't help but feel that our culture was changing really, really fast. And I wanted to go off and discover this next link rather than sit and continue digging, looking for a missing link. So I left field archaeology, built the digital recording studio in Nelson County, Virginia, learned HTML, and spent the next 2 decades experimenting with digital media and the internet. Little did I know how fast culture really could change. I just turned 40 this year, and my high school graduating class from 1992 was the last class to matriculate into college without an email address from college. And yet, despite a few gray hairs, I'm not that old. Yet, I was born in 1974, close to the moment in human history when digital time began. Archaeomediaology is the relationship that time, format, and fidelity have with culture. I postulate that as time increases, format and fidelity will also increase. And this will lead to greater and greater social playback, and this playback will forge culture. So there's a ton of forces that are all helping our culture to be shaped, but it's really these forces which are driving our media culture. So let's begin at the beginning of digital time to understand how we might record the future and play back the past. The digital epoch began on a Thursday, January the 1st, 1970, which means that the Common Era, or CE, actually ended Wednesday, December 31st, 1969. UTC, or Coordinated Universal Time, counts in seconds, and it began on the first second of 1970. Scientists and engineers, we needed UTC because the Earth's rotation is irregular and our spin is decelerating, and we needed a more accurate way to count time. So in addition to being the new recording calendar for this digital epoch, UTC also exists as a timestamp on all of our digital files, emails, pictures, logs, etc. And it provides archaeologists with the context and the strata that we need to understand and relate digital artifacts of culture. So here, we've got a basic graph of digital time beginning all the way at 1 UTC. By the second day, we were already at 86,400 UTC. I was born 130 million seconds into this epoch. And today, we're at 1.4159 billion seconds UTC. Now, over time, all of our digital artifacts will wind up in digital middens. So a midden is the archaeological term for a trash heap. And archaeologists love middens because they contain the broken remains of all sorts of cultural behaviors. So in our midden, we'll see everything, all the pictures that we've taken in all of our videos, family reunions, all of this stuff. And it's a cultural archive, but really it's also a digital landfill. And every second, thousands and thousands of recordings are being made, all of which will wind up in the digital midden. And down here at 2018, the amount of video crossing our networks each month will equal 5 million years if you've played it all back to back in one setting. So in our midden, fewer and fewer formats will dominate the bottom layers at lower and lower fidelities. But as we move up in time and stratification, we'll experience more and more formats at higher and higher fidelities. Now, all of this stuff is way too much. It's just too bright, it's too hot to fly near. It would burn our wings off if we tried to fly near it. But one day, we will be able to play all of this stuff back, and it won't melt our wings to watch it all. So I ask us, who will we become as a result of watching all of this stuff? Now, recordings are fundamental to our lives. Humans are wired to record. Our eyes are camera lenses, our ears are microphones, our brain is a hard drive, of which the cerebral cortex is the projector, the screen, and the movie, all wrapped up in one. Oral traditions are actually aural traditions of sonic social playback and social recording. Playback is how we access recordings. Playback is how we experience culture. Playback is why social media exists. Now, culture is forged through the playback of culture. So, let's go on an archaeomediaological dig into social playback and recording to understand how we forge culture when we play back recordings. All right, so for this, you have two choices. Either, and do this quietly to yourself, in your mind, play back a few bars of the Star-Spangled Banner, or if you'd rather, go back to that scene in Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back where Darth Vader cuts Luke's arm off and then goes, "Luke, I'm your father." Okay, play it back. All right, everybody has played it back? What format did you just play back? What format was it that we just played back? We played that back in our minds, right? We played that back in our minds. So the primary job of format is to store reality for eventual playback. Without format, nothing gets recorded. That's okay, because everything and everyone is format. And literally, we're human pixels. So scientists at the European Bioinformatics Institute in the UK successfully encoded an MP3 file, a JPEG image, and 154 of Shakespeare's sonnets into DNA. DNA is format at 2.2 million gigs per gram. We can literally store digital media in our body's genetic code. Just amazing. Now, fidelity is the degree of quality at which reality is recorded into format. Without fidelity, we can't access recorded playback. Without fidelity, reality is just moving time. And so I imagine that there's this direct relationship between fidelity and reality. And I envision it as if we're on this sweeping arc of fidelity, all the way from no-fi, or the absence of fidelity, to today's lo-fi, tomorrow's hi-fi, on to super-fi and full-fi, or total fidelity, which may be as good, if not greater, than our own currently perceived realities. Now, sometimes we can record into format higher fidelities than we can actually play back. And it might take years for the playback technology to catch up. A great example of this is the 1966 lunar orbiter images taken by NASA looking for landing spots on the moon for later Apollo missions. And while absolutely the pictures from Mars are incredible and totally amazing, with regards to playback and fidelity, it is the lunar orbiter images which fascinate me more. This is the dawn of VHS, a super high fidelity format which recorded this image of the Earth in the background and the moon in the foreground. Now, the image at the top, we played back in 1966. Note the difference in quality between the two images. Because it took 40 years for the playback technology to catch up until we were able to reproduce this image right here. Yet, when you zoom in to the picture of the moon, this is what you see of the moon's surface. So we can't understand or play back everything that we record when we actually record it. So perhaps nature has been recording all along. Sound is air, air is vibration, vibrations touch surfaces, etch markings, and markings are recordings. That's how vinyl records are made. We just need the right playback tools to reach into that format and extract the fidelity so we can experience it as playback. Now, scientists in 2014, this year, were able to extract or play back a conversation from a potato chip bag. And they're able to do this because a conversation happened in the same room as the potato chip bag, and the air of the conversation made the bag vibrate, and all those little vibrations in the potato chip bag were able to be reproduced in playback through some advanced technology and algorithms. So if we can play back a conversation from a potato chip bag, well, why not water or a stone? Could the Egyptian pyramids at Giza also be recordings? And if we can play back a potato chip bag, well, why wouldn't this theater here be making a recording? See, I predict we're entering an age where we will not need cameras to take pictures and movies, because recording is its own continuum. And it's been that way since day one of the universe, simply because the format exists all around us. And it's absorbing the fidelity all of the time. We are recordings. Whereas humans have been recording since there were humans. And whereas nature has been recording since there was nature. Whereas in time, we are at the dawn of playback. Therefore, as we advance our abilities to play back more and more formats at higher and higher fidelities, we will ultimately be able to play back everything humans and nature have recorded since the universe began. Thank you.